I had a boyfriend who I'd been with on and off for 6 years. I lived with him and we were pretty serious. But we'd got into drugs together and we were sliding down the slippery slope. By the time I was 24 and he was 30, we'd both spent about 1.5 years trying to stop. I was extremely manipulative, so whenever I failed to stop, I would somehow manipulate things to make it appear that it was his fault I'd started again. Drugs were like that. They'd make you horribly manipulative. I was lying through my teeth to everybody, including him, about how many drugs I was taking. Finally, I decided to get clean. I needed a complete change. I left my boyfriend. I quit my job at Models 1. I admitted to some of the stuff that I'd been doing to my dad and my stepmum, although the full debrief didn't happen until I'd committed to getting clean. "I'm a mess. Can I come home?" I said to them. "Sure," they said. I assumed then, since it was my boyfriend's fault that I took drugs, I'd stop after we split. But no, I got worse. Without him holding me back, I got into a really bad way, and for the first time, I became physically addicted to heroin. Then, my best friend Sarah said, "Do you want to come to a Santana concert tonight?" "I'll see Sarah. She'll make me feel better," I thought. She came to pick me up and I got into the car with her, and then she said, "Listen, I need to talk to you about something. You're the subject at every dinner party I go to, and you're my best friend. And you're a wreck. And unless you do something about it, you're going to end up in serious trouble. You're letting everyone down. You're letting yourself down. I know you're lying to me and I know what you're doing. I know you've been taking heroin and you think that nobody else knows because you're trying to hide it. But everybody knows," she said. It was like being hit by a freight train because I'd always felt that I was above other drug addicts because I didn't steal. I'd worked 3 jobs to get the money. I wasn't a street junkie. I didn't inject, and crucially, I was sure I'd hidden my habit from everyone. It was like somebody had just put a dagger in my heart and twisted it hard. I was so convinced that I was not the same as any other junkie. After a stunned silence, I got so angry. I called her every name under the sun. "I am fine. I'm fine. I've been away and I'm fine," I was shouting as I got out of the car, slammed the door. I stormed back into my dad and stepmom's flat, where I was sleeping on a camp bed in a walk-in cupboard with a desk in it. And I sat on the camp bed and I cried and cried and cried. I was furious with Sarah for a few hours, and then I just surrendered. And I knew that everything she said was true. Oh my God, it's got to stop. I've got to stop. I can't do this anymore. I felt like I was on a merry-go-round. I could see life was happening off the merry-go-round. And I could see it was happening and everybody was having a good time. And I couldn't get off the merry-go-round. I couldn't make it stop. The next morning, I felt so rough, and I decided it was time to go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I'd heard about them, and I knew a lovely girl called Mary who was in recovery. I wasn't looking forward to fessing up that I was not just casually taking drugs, and was convinced that when I called Mary, she'd say, "Oh my God, are you using?" But she just told me that there was a meeting at 6 o'clock, and she offered to meet me there. When I put the phone down, I thought, oh my God, I've got an actual arrangement with somebody. Now I've got to go. Then I went to see Sarah, who I thought would never speak to me again after the language I'd used. On the way, I stopped off and bought her a little bunch of flowers. I walked into her office and sheepishly apologised. I explained that I knew she was right and that I was going to a meeting and I wanted it to change. Thank God Sarah could see that I was different. There was a new humility in my voice, not the arrogance drugs gave me. She forgave me and we both had a massive cry. I knew I'd have to come to terms with the fact that I didn't just have a problem with heroin. I had a problem with all drugs, and far from me not being an alcoholic, I was a total alcoholic because every time I had one drink, it would take me straight back to the drugs again. Suddenly, it was as clear as flipping day. Things began to change, and life began to change, and all because a brave friend was honest.